Do subscribe to Ekeeda channel and press bell icon to get updates about latest engineering, HSC and IIT JEE main and advanced videos.
Hello friends, in this video we are going to study about the float type methods which are used for the measurement of liquid level. Here we will study its construction, working, advantages, disadvantages and its applications. So let us start with our topic. So this float operated level measurement gauges or the float type methods, they are used for the measurement of the liquid level. So first we will understand the term liquid level. So liquid level refers to the height or position of the liquid above a datum line or reference line. So if we want to find out the level of the liquid which is contained in a vessel or a container or in a tank, so suppose this is a tank in which we are having the liquid filled in it and we want to find out the level of this liquid. So we will find the height or position of the liquid above a datum line or a reference line. Here we will take the bottom of the tank as our reference line. The height of the liquid above this reference line will be called the liquid level. Okay, so this is defined as the liquid level, and here we will study the float type methods which are used for the measurement of the liquid level. Now this measurement of the liquid level, these methods, they are of two types. One is the indirect methods and other is the direct methods. In the direct methods, we get the direct indication of the liquid level. These instruments or the methods which come under this category, these methods, they give us the direct reading of the liquid level. Okay, so here we get a direct indication of the level of the liquid. Whereas in the indirect methods, the level is not measured directly. It is measured by measuring the changes in some other quantity. Okay. So here the variable is not the level, but it will be in another quantity. So here the changes in the level are causing the changes in some other quantity, and the method is going to measure the changes in that quantity through which it will indirectly measure the level of the liquid, because the changes in level are proportional to the changes in the quantity. Okay, so if we are measuring the changes in that quantity, we can measure the level of the liquid also. So there are indirect methods also and they are direct method also. Now this float type of methods, there are some there are some arrangements of this method which can come under this direct method category also, and in this indirect method category also. So we are going to study both these types of methods. First we will start with the direct methods, which or the arrangement of the float type methods which come under this category. Now in these float type of methods which are used for the liquid level measurement, the primary device is the float. Okay, and this primary device float, it is going to write over the surface of the liquid. Okay, the liquid whose level we want to measure, so this float is going to write over the surface of that liquid. When we use the term that floating, it means that on the surface of the liquid, that thing is moving over the surface. Okay, suppose that we are saying that this box is floating over the surface of the river. Okay, so is floating in the river. If we are saying that this box is floating in the river, it means that this box is moving, or it is moving on the surface of the river. Okay, so float is a device that writes on the surface of the fluid, and it is the primary or the main element of these float type methods. So this float, because it is riding or moving over the surface of the fluid, so due to its buoyancy, it follows the changing level of the liquid. So as the level of the liquid is rising or falling, this float is also rising its level and falling its level due to its buoyancy. So if we are having a tank, and in this tank the liquid is filled. Now in this tank, if we are having a float, this is the float. Now, as the level of this liquid is increasing, the float is also moving upwards. As the level of the tank or level of the liquid in the tank is decreasing, the float is also uh, falling its level. Okay, float is also coming down. So, if to this float, if we connect a tape, okay, then through this tape, that how much level of this tape is above this top of the tank, we can measure the level of the liquid. So this is the most simplest method of using the float to find out the level of the liquid, because this float, due to its buoyancy, it follows the changing level of the liquid. And if we connect this float with a pointer, here we are having a pointer which is moving over a scale. So when it is moving down, when it is coming up, then the pointer is also moving on this scale. So the movement of the float can be transferred to the pointer, and this pointer is going to move over the scale through which we can take the readings of the liquid level. So this is the basic principle of the float type methods which are using the float for the level measurement. So this float is the main part of these methods. Now if we talk about the characteristics of the float, that what type of floats are to be used and what are the shapes are to be used. So there are various types of floats used here. So various types of floats are used in this methods, like hollow metal spheres, means they are in the form of the sphere and hollow from inside and made up of metals. Also, cylinder shaped ceramic floats, they are cylindrical in their shape and they are made up of the ceramic materials. Also, disc shaped floats which are made up of synthetic materials. So the material which is used for the construction of the float, it can be metal, it can be ceramic, or it can be synthetic materials, and its shape can be a sphere, cylinder, or disc shaped floats can be used. Now, one most important thing which is used for this floats is that the float should have less density than the liquid whose level it is going to measure, because if its density is very high, it is going to sink down in the tank. If we want that the float it rides or it moves over the surface of the liquid, its density should be less. That is why the metal spheres type of floats, they are made hollow from inside, so their density is reduced and they are going to float over the surface of the liquid. So floats should have less density. Also, they must not corrode, because this float is in contact with the liquid whose level it is measuring, so that liquid is not reactive with the float. Okay. Also, the float must not corrode due to the presence of that liquid, because the liquid is in contact with the float. So the floats should have less density, they must not corrode or react with the substance. So these are the characteristics which are expected from the float which are used for the level measurement. Now, as I have said that there are direct methods of liquid level measurement also and indirect methods also. In direct methods, we are getting a direct indication of the liquid level. So first we will study the float type methods using the direct technique. Okay. For that, let us see the first arrangement, that how the float are used for the measurement of liquid level. So this is the first arrangement in which the float is used for the measurement of the liquid level. You can see this is the float which is circular in shape here. To this float is connected with a rope. Okay, and this rope is moving over the pulley. Okay, this is the pulley, and on the other side of this rope a counterweight is connected. So when this float is inside, so that a mechanical arrangement is being made, we see in the weight balances also the weight is going to be balanced when we are keeping same weight on both the sides. So this will be moving on the pulley when we are having a counterweight on this side. Okay. Now, as this level of the liquid is changing in the tank, the float is moving over this pulley, and to this pulley the pointer is being attached, and this pointer is moving over the calibrated scale which are having the indication 0, 5, 10, 15, 20. So as the level is changing, float is moving upwards and in the downward direction, and the pointer is also moving over the scale, so we can get the readings of the liquid level. So this is the first arrangement, or we can say the simplest float operated mechanism used for direct liquid level measurement. So float is attached to the cable which is wound around a pulley and in which the indicating pointer is attached. Now the movement of the pointer is read on a scale which is calibrated in terms of the level of the tank. Okay, so we can get the readings of the liquid level from this calibrated scale. Now the advantage of this method is that it is possible to read from the ground level, means the level of the liquid which is in the tank, and the tank is below the ground level. So for those tanks also this method is going to give us the accurate results. So this was the first and the simplest method of measuring the liquid level. Now let's see the second method. This second method is just having simple modifications from the first method. In the first method, the float is moving over the pulley. The float is connected with the cable and cable is moving over the pulley. So in that case, due to friction, due to the movement of the pulley and the connection between the cable and the pulley, the wear and tear or the damage of the cable can occur due to the friction. So mechanical problems are there, okay, and these mechanical problems, they are reduced in this second arrangement. So from the first arrangement, we are having a simple modification in this second method. Instead of pulley, here we are having a rotating shaft, and this is the float. To this rotating shaft, the float is being connected as the level of the liquid. First the level is this. Now as the level of the liquid is increasing, this float is moving upwards. So this float is moving over this scale and we can read the liquid level from this calibrated scale. So in this second arrangement, the mechanical problems like due to the friction, the wear and tear out of the cable, all these mechanical problems, they will be reduced. Okay. But there is also disadvantage of this method, that this method does not permit a wide range of measurement. Because here in this part the rotation, because the movement of this float is restricted by the movement of this rotating shaft. Okay, so it is not going to give us a wide range of level measurement, but it has the mechanical advantages that there is no problem of friction here. Now let us study the third arrangement which is used for the measurement of liquid level. This is also a direct type of method. It will give us the direct readings of the liquid level. So this is the third arrangement for the liquid level measurement. You can see here the float is a magnetic type of float. Two types of floats are used. One is the inner magnet and the other are the outer magnets. Now to the other magnet the cable is being connected, and this cable is connected to the pointer which is moving over the indicator or over the calibrated scale. Now, as due to the movement of this, as the level of the liquid in the tank it increases, these floats, these outer magnets, they are going to raise their level. Okay, now these outer magnets, they are going to attract the inner magnet. So as the movement of the outer magnet is in upward direction, the inner magnet also moves in the upward direction, and the pointer which is connected to it, it also moves over the calibrated scale. So as the level increases or decreases, the movement of the floats, that is the outer magnets, causes the movement of the inner magnets, and the inner magnet causes the movement of the pointer. So in this way the liquid level is being measured. So float is used to move a magnet, and this magnet it moves, and as this magnet move it attracts the following magnet. Okay, because the outer magnet is attracting the inner magnet. So as the outer magnet moves, the inner magnet also moves, and this inner magnet is connected by a cable to the indicator. Thus the movement of the inner magnet is transferred to the pointer which is moving over the scale. Now in this diagram you have seen that in the earlier two arrangements the float, it is directly connected with the cable and the indicator. Okay, now here we have a float guide tube also, so that this inner magnet is dipped into the liquid in a straight direction, means in downward straight direction it is going to get inserted or get dipped into the liquid. Now this float guide tube on the other end, it is sealed so that this liquid cannot enter in this, and also on the other side it is open and it is connected with the indicator. So a float guide tube is connected so that the float is dipped in the liquid in the straight downward direction. So the float guide tube is inserted downward. This float guide tube is mounted with the flange and gasket to the top of the tank, and the lower end of the tube is closed. Okay, now the lower end is closed and outer end is top of the tank is mounted with the flange and gasket. So the inside of the tube is completely sealed off from the tank so that the liquid cannot enter this tube, and the magnet is free from the liquid. So as the outer magnets move, because the level of the liquid is changing, so the follower magnet which is inside the tube, that also changes according to the outer magnet, and it is going to seek a position corresponding to the float. And due to the movement of the follower magnet, the cable also moves, and this cable is connected with the pointer which moves over the calibrated scale. So in this way, we are going to get the readings of the liquid level using the magnetic type of floats. Now these three arrangements which we have seen here, first arrangement in which we have used the pulley arrangement was there, in the second where we are having the rotating shaft, and in the third where we are having the magnetic type of float. So in all these three types of methods, we are getting a direct reading of the liquid level. Now the next arrangement is the indirect method of level measurement, where we are not getting directly the readings of the liquid level, but we are getting the readings of some other quantity, and the changes in that quantity are proportional to the changes in the liquid level. So directly the liquid is not measured, but indirectly measuring some other quantity, we are measuring the liquid level. So let's see this indirect method of liquid level measurement using the float type methods. Now, as I've said that we are going to measure some other quantity. So in this indirect method, we are measuring the potential difference, or we can say the output voltage. So due to the changes in the liquid level, the float is going to move because it is a float type of method. So floats are used in this indirect method also. So changes in liquid level causes the movement of the float, and due to the movement of the float, the output voltage is generated. And the magnitude of this output voltage is proportional to the changes in the liquid level. Let's see the diagram for this. So here in this diagram, you can see a float operated potential divider is being shown, and this divider consists of the wiper, the resistance is there, so and a voltmeter is connected and a battery is there. Okay, now as the liquid level changes, the float also moves ups and down. So when this float moves, because to the float the wiper is connected, so this wiper is going to also move over this resistance. So due to the change in the resistance, the current is being same because the battery is supplying the same current. Okay, now as the resistance is changing, the potential is also changing, and we can measure the potential difference with the help of this voltmeter. So as the level of the liquid changes, the potential is also changed, and we can measure the potential difference with the help of this voltmeter. So the potential difference is proportional to the changes in the liquid level. So we are not measuring directly the level of the liquid, but we are measuring the changes in the output voltage. So as the liquid rises in the tank, the float is raised, and due because this float is connected with the wiper, so the movement of the float causes the movement of the wiper. Now wiper moves over the potential divider, and the output terminals of the potential divider are connected to the voltmeter. So as the float rises, a greater part of the potential divider is included in the output terminals, and a greater amount of output voltage is generated. So output voltage V. So this is the indirect method which is used for the measurement of the level. Here the liquid level is not directly measured. The pointer is not giving us the direct indication of level. We are measuring the output voltage with the help of the potential divider. Changes in liquid level causes the changes in the causes the movement of the float, causes the movement of wiper, and the changes in the output voltage. Okay. Now this type of method, it can be used for the remote measurement of the level also. Okay, so the output terminals of the potential divider, they may be connected to a device which is at a remote location. So for remote indication of the measurement of liquid, we can use this method also. So we studied here the direct and the indirect methods. Now let us come to the applications of this float type of. We will study its applications along with its limitations, that in what application it can be used and in what applications it cannot be used, what are its limitations in those situations. Now in this float type of methods, you have seen that the float is connected with a cable or the tape. So this tape has to be long so that the deep measurements can be done, and also for these tape or the float to get straight in downward direction, we have to use the guide tubes. So if they are not vertical, then if the float is inserted in them, the float is going to be in contact with this guide pipes. So due to that, the friction problems can occur, and wear and tear and damage problems can occur. So the limitation of this method is that the guide pipes which are used, if they are not perfectly vertical, the floats are going to rub inside these pipes and they are going to get damaged. Also, the problem with these are that the floats, they may have corrosion. Okay, if the float is going to react with the substance, then corrosion can occur. Also the guide pipes also, they can be corroded if they react with the substance. So corrosion is also one of the problems. So this limits its applications also, that whenever if we want to measure the liquid level of the substance which are corrosive in their nature or reactive in their nature, their level cannot be measured. So reactive liquids, their level cannot be measured with the help of this. Now this problem of this wear and tear and the corrosion, it can be removed by protecting the floats against these liquids, so that we can have some coating over the float so they cannot react with the substances, and they can be used for these applications also. So the main limitation of this float type method is that they require high maintenance. So high maintenance is required so that the float and tape, they must be clean up and the movement of the float is very clean. Okay. So in this video, we studied about the float type methods which are used for the measurement of the liquid level. We studied its construction, its principle of working. We saw the two types of methods, direct and the indirect float type methods for liquid level measurement. And in the last, we saw its applications together with its limitations. So I hope that this topic is now clear to you. Thank you.